Hey, good morning, Mrs. Burnett and Mr. Zanartu. Good morning, Coyotes. Welcome to our Friday Flag video for this week. Today is Friday, May 19th. Let's begin, as we all do, with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. Put your eyes on the flag, hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Hey students, thank you for another great few weeks we just had. I did want to set a few reminders though as we continue on and look at the last 2 weeks of school. As we all know, the playground is less structured than our classroom. It's a large space and we trust that each student shows positive, encouraging behavior on the hardtop area, play structure area, grassy field, and or the kickball field. Our words can sting or they can lift up. Are we following the Kafudi rule expectation, keeping our hands and feet to ourselves? Even though we had a great week, the overall general behavior has not been as good. So I want to encourage us all, please do our part to be a hero towards others that you share outdoor space with. Lots of free time lost or more severe consequences are in order for those who choose negative behavior and make poor choices. So students, I want to thank you ahead of time for showing that you can be a hero to all in the last 9 days of school. Helpful, encouraging, respectful, and outstanding. And so thank you for doing that. Students, if you have a good joke to tell, record it on Flipgrid. Remember that, who knows, maybe you'll be featured in one of our Friday Flag videos. Today we have Abby from Mrs. Greenstein's class. So Abby, take it away.
Hi, I'm Abby from 5th grade in Mrs. Greenstein's class, and this is a joke. What is the instrument that is found in a bathroom? A tube of toothpaste.
And now we have Mr. Zanartu with his mindset behavior tip. Mr. Z, you ready to go?
Hi Coyotes, I hope your week was a good one. Today, I want to talk to you about what makes a good friend. A good friend is someone who's kind, caring, and trustworthy. They are someone who is there for you when you need them and is willing to lend a helping hand. They help you feel happy, supported, and they're really fun to be around. But being a good friend also means being able to share your friends with others. It's important to remember that your friends aren't your property, and it's not fair to be possessive of them. Everyone deserves to have friends, and it's okay to have more than one friend. In fact, sharing your friends can lead to new friendships and fun experiences. As we approach the summer, it's important to remember that friendships can change, and sometimes that can be hard, and it can make us feel sad or left out. But even though things may change, it's important to remember to be kind and friendly to everyone. Remember, there are over 150 students in each grade who can be your potential friend. And just because if you disagree with a friend today doesn't mean you can't still be friends with them tomorrow. So, as we approach that summer break and prepare for the next school year, remember to keep your mind open and be friendly to everyone. Who knows, you might find a new best friend. Before I send it over to Mrs. Burnett, who's going to announce this week's Halley's Heroes, all students, by the way, who would be great friend choices, this is your school counselor, Mr. Zanartu, hoping you have a great week with great friendships.
Thank you, Mr. Zanartu. Great message. All right, students, it is one of my favorite parts of this video. Let's recognize our students who have been helpful, encouraging, respectful, and outstanding. In kindergarten, Mrs. Miller's class, we have Tatum. In Mrs. Amkraut's class, RJ. And also Mrs. Miller's class, we have Aubrey. And in 1st grade, in Mrs. Schaad's class, we have Cooper. Mr. Reagan's class, James and Monica. Mrs. Stringer's class, Jaden, Mrs. Espinosa's class, Esther, and also Mrs. Schaad's class, Sophia. And in 2nd grade in Mrs. De Leon's class, we have Liam. In Miss Garrity's class, Erilyn and Bradley. In Mrs. Pacey's class, Robert and Sailor. In Mrs. Treese's class, Scarlett H. And again in Miss Garrity's class, we have Blake and Elijah. And in Mrs. Calvio Murray's class, we have Dom. And in 3rd grade, in Mrs. Tope's class, we have Jordan. Mrs. Hess's class, we have Harper. Mrs. Hartley's class, Chloe T. Mrs. Hewittson's class, Everly. Mrs. Levin's class, Matthew. Mrs. Welch's class, Trevor. Mrs. Tope's class also, we have Emma. Mrs. Levin's class, we have Philip. Mrs. Hewitson's class, Shane. Mrs. Welch's class, Santana. Mrs. Hess's class, Sage. And in 4th grade, in Mrs. Livingston's class, we have Reeve. Mr. Pacey's class, Clara. Mrs. Schroeder's class, Ryder and Brandon. Miss Trujillo's class, Melissa. Miss Ariano's class, Kennedy. Mr. Pacey's class again, we have Julian. Miss Ariano's class, we have Valerie and Kennedy. Mrs. Schroeder's class, Chanel. Miss Smith's class, Caleb and Lily. And in 5th grade, in Mrs. Hemrick's class, Grayson. Mrs. Bryan's class, Travis. Mrs. Miranda's class, we have Cassie, Kinsey, and Kendall, the 3 Musketeers. And in Mrs. Bryan's class, we have Cole and Travis and Ivana, another set of Musketeers possibly. In Mrs. Hemrick's class, we have Ashley, and Mrs. Greenstein's class, Abby. Boys and girls, you may have heard that I mentioned teachers' names a couple times. That's because we are recognizing 2 weeks worth of Hallie's Heroes. So way to go to all of our heroes out there. With just a couple weeks left, let's continue to shine and show that hero behavior. Over to you, Mr. Shaw.
Yeah, well said. Thank you, both of you. Thank you for tuning in today, all Coyotes. It was so fun to see all the hard work displayed in your classroom last night at Open House. That's always a fun event. Well done, students. Very proud of every single one of you. Teachers, great job. Lots of hard work there too reflected. Thank you for all your hard work these 34 weeks, I think we're into. So anyway, enjoy your weekend, everyone. Take care, and we will see you all on Monday. Bye-bye.